So lately, I've been noticing that a lot of people have a very serious problem with Gambit and Angela in the game. Now, there's a lot of characters that people don't like in the game, anywhere from Spider-Man, Black Panther, Daredevil, so many different characters that people complain about and stuff. But I've noticed very consistent complaining on social media and within the actual game from people in regards to Gambit and Angela. And it's kind of got me wondering, is there an actual issue with these characters, or is it really just the community not wanting to adapt to a lot of different situations? Let's talk about it. YouTube, what's going on, man? It's Father Dark here on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Hope everybody's having a great week. It is hump day, meaning that we're midway through the week. So if you're not excited about it, go ahead and get excited about it. But like I said in the intro, let's go ahead and get into the video. Gambit and Angela. Now, this was a topic that was recommended to me by YouTube Studio. Now, for those of you that aren't content creators, don't really know anything about like kind of the back end of a lot of this stuff. YouTube Studio actually will give you inspiration for videos a lot of time, and they have a whole section for that where they actually use like the analytics to see like what people are watching, what people are commenting on and talking about and stuff like that. And they'll recommend topics that your viewers will find interesting. And this was something that was recommended to me, but I was already actually thinking about making the video. So when I saw that and it was something that I had kind of had in the back of my mind, I said, you know what, let me go ahead and break into it and talk about it. So first, let's start with Gambit. So the thing about Gambit is that the issue with Gambit is not exclusive to just Gambit. There's multiple things that I feel like people have an issue with in regards to Gambit, but one of the main things is like, I like to call it like the new hero or new character syndrome. In this game, it's a lot different than other games that I've played. So let me give you an example, right? This used to be a Call of Duty channel. And when Call of Duty has a new season, they do the same thing just like any other live service game. They have kind of like the beginning season part of the update, and then they save some of the content for the mid-season update. But even in the beginning of the season, you usually will get like 3 or 4 different new loadouts. You get multiple new maps. They make changes to like the Warzone map and stuff like that. They have all the different operator skins, obviously, like anyone else. But I don't really consider skins content, though. So the thing is like, let's say that at 1 out of the 4 loadouts, or even 2 out of the 4 loadouts that they release in the beginning of the season aren't very good. People usually at least have something that from that update that is good. That they can feel like, oh, this is new, this is meta, it's got a really good TTK, et cetera, right? The difference between like a game like that and a game like this is that once the new season comes out, the only thing that you really have besides maybe like some team up changes and stuff like that they might release, which are also cool, but the main bread and butter is the new hero that's releasing. Everybody gets really excited. It's kind of like I look at it like this, right? Like with my kids on Christmas and birthdays and stuff. They always have all these things that they ask us for that they want. And there's only like a handful of things that they get out of the hundreds of things they get because they're spoiled that they actually use throughout the year. So for example, my son, he's been really wanting a new steering wheel. He loves driving games and car simulators and stuff like that. So he's been wanting a steering wheel with the foot pedals and all that kind of stuff, right? That'll be something that he probably uses throughout the whole entire year. But a lot of the other stuff that he might ask for, like different train sets or my other son likes to get Nerf guns and things like that, lightsabers. They'll use those things for a minute, and then they usually end up under the bed or in one of their toy boxes or something, right? And that happens a lot. Every Christmas, pretty much, we have to go into their room and take all the toys that they begged us for and asked for, and that they played with for 5 minutes, and then they got put in the toy box, whatever. And we'll usually donate those to Goodwill or something like that and move on. Point that I'm making is that this is kind of the same thing that happens when new characters release. A lot of people have more fun like anticipating the character and the build up to the character. And once the character gets here, they rush out. Everybody has this like, oh, I want to be the best at this character, yada, yada, yada. And then after a few days, they go back to playing whatever characters it is that they're comfortable with and that they know the best and stuff like that. And this is kind of the problem with Gambit. And a lot of people will sit back and they'll say, well, we feel like they should stop characters from being used in ranked for the first week, which is something that I agree with, because it is kind of weird to me when people will take a character on the very first day, like the second that they've released, and then decide to load up into rank with that character, knowing good and damn well they have no idea how this character really works. I mean, you might have a basic understanding of like, this is his main attack and maybe he has this other ability, but there's a big difference between like you playing a character and having like the basic understanding of it to where like you really know this character. And we've all been there, whether we want to admit it or not. You can pick up Wanda, for example, and it's like, oh, she just sucks your soul out, and then she's got a few little like targeted like magic arrows or something that she kind of throws out and hits you with, and she's got kind of like this stun. there's a big difference between when you first pick up Wanda versus when you know Wanda in and out and understand how to take out pretty much half the roster with Wanda. It's the same thing with Iron Man. Iron Man seems very simple, but there's a lot of things that a lot of people don't know about Iron Man. A lot of people don't know that when you use his turbo ability or whatever, that you have unlimited fuel for like 10 or 15 seconds, however long it lasts. A lot of people don't know that once you use that ability, it's better to get closer and hit people with the chest beam and stuff like that. A lot of people don't understand like the best positioning for different characters and stuff to go against when you're playing with them. Like I said, this is the difference between when you first get a character versus when you actually know that character. I've been coming across so many Gambits that don't understand that he has an ability to cleanse ult. So you'll get ulted by a strange or a group, and then you're looking at the Gambit like, brother, why didn't you just cleanse the ult? We didn't have to go through this. Why did you just allow it to? And they're just too busy sitting there just DPSing their brains out. Now, the thing is that while I'm talking about stuff like this, people are not monoliths, right? So you can't say that every single person that plays Gambit plays them the same way. I know for a fact that there are good Gambits out there, right? And this is going to lead me into the next thing I want to talk about in regards to this is like trust. So basically, we have a Discord. And if you haven't joined the Discord, I really recommend it. I know there's a lot of people that are still trying to do the like the little team up challenge that you have to be able to get the free coins from the current event and stuff like that. We've had a lot of people join, probably like 100 over the last week from the last video just for that. We have like, 1,500 people? I think 1,500 people in there now. And these are all very close-knit people that don't mind helping out with stuff like that. We do customs and scrims and everything like that. So if that's something you're interested in, I definitely would recommend joining the server. But the point that I was trying to make is that a lot of times, people will say, hey, Dark, will you load in with us and play some matches with us, etc. And I go, yeah, sure. So I know that there's certain people in my server, like just for an example, there's a guy, Judar, Zeno, which some of these people have been in videos before where they've given their opinion on stuff. But yeah, we got Judar, Zeno. I believe there's another guy. I think his name is Sly, if I'm not mistaken. The names start to kind of run together after a while. Nonetheless, though, I know for a fact that these guys really understand how to use Gambit. There's a level of trust there, right? Where if they pick Gambit and then we have like a Rocket or a Cloak and Dagger or something like that, I'm not going to pick a third support. I'll just go DPS or I'll go tank, I'll flex and play whatever's needed, right? Because I know that these guys understand Gambit in and out. They're already lorded with them, and not just the kind of lords where they just put the time in, but they actually understand the character. And they're going to get eliminations, and they're also going to get a very decent amount of healing as well. So that's something that I don't have to worry about. But most of the time when I'm playing ranked, especially because I don't want people in the comments to say, well, you only got to the rank that you got to because you were carried by people in your community or something like that, right? So I tend to play ranked by myself. When I'm playing ranked, a lot of times when I see Gambit, I don't even think of him as a support. There's been times where I was like, oh man, I'm the only support. What are we doing? And I'm literally looking at the Gambit on our team. And like I said, this is because every Gambit is different. There's been times where there's been Gambits who have gotten the same amount of eliminations than me and slightly more healing than me when I was playing on my best, supports that are lorded and everything like that I've been playing since the game release. And there's been a lot of times where the Gambits were just absolutely terrible, and then there's been everything in between. So a lot of times what happens is when I see someone pick Gambit on the team, and then I see another support get picked, I'm going to look at it as Gambit is kind of like an off support, even though he's not really, in my opinion, technically an off support, right? He's actually a main support, probably one of the better supports in the game next to like Invis currently. But because I don't know that person that's playing him, I'm going to 9 times out of 10 pick a third support. Depending upon how the game is going, if I'm noticing that it's working and we're all doing what we're supposed to be doing, whatever, I'll stay that way. But if I notice that, this Gambit is actually on it, they know what they're doing, and maybe we need another tank or we need another DPS, then I'll swap, right? But like I said, though, the problem that comes from that is that a lot of people are not comfortable yet with Gambits as supports because you don't know what you're getting. It's kind of a mixed bag. Not that you ever really know what you're getting from any character. Someone can look like they're an amazing tank or they picked a solid choice for tank. They got the Lord icon and then they're terrible or whatever. Maybe it's just a bad match or they're just not that good to begin with, whatever. But specifically with Gambits, there's just a lack of trust there. And that just encourages more people to run triple support, which is something that the community already kind of has an issue with. And a lot of people have brought up a lot of different ways that they could kind of like mitigate that. Some people have said there needs to be kind of like if you pick more than 2 supports, maybe like a healing reduction, like 5 or 10% or something like that. Whatever, just something that would discourage people from running triple support. Because I mean, it's not even just triple support. I saw a match the other day where it was like no one was dying. I'm like, what's going on? I look at the board and I see the enemy team had like 5 supports. They only had 1 DPS. It was a Squirrel Girl. Everybody else was a support. And even though we had like a pretty normal team comp, it was just that no one was just dying. Like it was just so much healing that no one was dying. We ended up having to run, I believe, 3 tanks to be able to kind of counter that. But the overall point that I'm trying to get to here is that that's one of the main reasons why I think a lot of people have an issue with Gambit, is because so many people will pick him, and you even also have the fact that there were DPS players who were like, I'm just going to pick Gambit as a DPS and I'm not healing anything. I'm just going to see if I do heal you, it was literally an accident. Like you just happened to jump in front of me while I was, trying to take out this tank or whatever. So those are just one of the reasons, some of the reasons in my opinion, why a lot of people have an issue with Gambit. Now let's talk about Angela. Now, the thing that's interesting to me about Angela is that I didn't feel like anyone had an issue with her. And then about a week or so ago, maybe it was a week and a half ago, I was on Twitter and I was scrolling through and I found a couple of different posts back to back in the Marvel Rivals community where people were just outright complaining about Angela. And I was really interested because a lot of these posts usually like they don't really go anywhere, especially like on X. When people just make these, a lot of times it's more like they're just kind of venting and people don't really care. But this one had like hundreds of comments and stuff and a lot of likes. And a lot of people were also like complaining about Angela. And it really got me thinking. And when I think about Angela, I guess from like my perspective, it's because one of her main counters is someone that I play and I love, which is Invis. The only issue that I had with Invis pretty much since release was that the only way she could heal herself, if she wasn't standing in front of a shield that she had placed on someone else, was to go invisible. And her going invisible took a lot longer for her to heal than if she had her shield next to her. And they just recently gave her the ability to place her shield on herself, which in my opinion has kind of almost made her broken. It's kind of one of those things where you ask for something like, yeah, you should be able to do this. And then once you get it, you go, oh, I kind of see why you didn't allow us to do this before, but I'm not going to complain because I love Invis, right? So Invis is out here getting banned left and right now in certain ranks. So point I'm making though is that with Angela, a lot of people don't want to, one, play her counter, and a lot of people, two, don't want to have to think like their enemy and anticipate their enemy. So what's happening is that I think with Angela, we're running into the same problem that we had with Black Panther, where Black Panther, you could get around Black Panther. There were things that you could do to make Black Panther's life miserable, right? We used to have one of the best Black Panthers probably in the game. I'd say easily top 100 in there somewhere. But there was many times where I would talk to him and I'd say, hey, what exactly do you deal with in the game that makes your life miserable as Black Panther? And I had a whole entire list that he had given me for like every role, what exactly someone could do, or what team ups they could use, whatever that would just make his life miserable, whether it been Storm, slowing down his movement, Penny with the rocket team up, a good Wanda. There's so many different things that were making his life miserable, right? And there was just a lot of people that didn't want to have to deal with that, as well as Invis as well, left that out. But so many things that people just didn't want to deal with. One of the main things that I noticed about Black Panther is that people didn't want to have to anticipate when Black Panther was going to attack. And that's like one of the biggest things with characters like that. Same thing with kind of Angela. See, with most of the characters in the game, you can see them coming for you. Pause. But it's like you can see them coming to attack you, right? Like there's this normal kind of way that things work. You have the tanks in the front, you have the DPS in the middle, and then you have the supports in the back. And anytime there's a situation where supports have to deal with the fact that someone is flanking and getting behind them and they have to be able to pay attention to something other than what's in front of them, I noticed that a lot of support players really struggle with that. Whereas for me, that's not really a big deal because I've always taught myself to think like whatever the opposition or the enemy is in the game, right? So if I'm playing support, it's not hard for me to understand that for the tanks and for the DPS, they're trying to target you because once you get rid of the supports, or at least you got the supports distracted, they now can't focus as much healing on the rest of their team. And if the team isn't being healed, it's pretty obvious who's going to win that fight at that point. And this is kind of like, even though Angela isn't as like bad as like Black Panther in regards to like sneaking up on people and just immediately deleting you to where you just really have to be on it, there's still this level of I have to actually pay attention and I'm going to have to play characters that can counter her well. Now, when I play Cloak and Dagger, when I play Invis specifically, I don't really have any issue with her. Once you blind her as Cloak and Dagger and start, just immediately putting damage on her and stuff like that, or if you fade out, or if you put a bubble down and you kind of stop her from being able to like spear you into the enemy team. I don't really deal with it as much. And with Invis, it's just as simple as pushing her back and putting her psionic orb down, because the psionic orb, for a lot of people, if you don't know, it stops people from being able to fly. Once the orb touches them at all, they immediately drop down to the ground, which is a flyer's worst nightmare. That's just something if you're a flyer, your whole thing is that you want to fly. And if you can't fly, it's kind of, counterintuitive to why you even exist to begin with. So in my opinion, like the Angela hate is more of a situation where it's kind of shining a light on the fact that the community has a really big problem understanding that this game, you're not going to be able to just pick a character and say, I just want to play this character. I just want to have fun. What's fun for you is not fun for other people. If you're sitting here deleting people as Psylocke or something, people are going to, good players, players that want to win, that are going to put their ego aside, they're going to switch to a character that counters that. And you can use that example for anything. Let's say that you want to play Spider-Man. When I was lording Spider-Man, he was one of the most annoying characters of the game at the time. And I would notice that whenever I pulled him out, which was every game when I was lording him, obviously, because it's just quick play. I don't really care. I don't care if people pull out counters, but every game people would immediately pull out my counters. They would go for Wanda, Namor, just anybody who would make my life a living hell as Spider-Man, right? And this happened like damn near every single game. Even if these people weren't good at those characters, they would immediately swap to it because I'm annoying. I'm Spider-Man, right? Like that's my whole thing, is to be annoying. Even if I'm not deleting anyone in the back line, I'm being such a nuisance that they just cannot focus. And clearly the supports are telling everybody else on the team, hey, can you get this Spider-Man off me? He just won't leave me alone. He's constantly bothering me, solo ult me, all this stuff, right? And that's going to cause them to, want to switch over and try to take you out or whatever. Same thing when I was lording out Iron Man. It was the same exact thing. You're just sitting there, you're being annoying as Iron Man. People are going to start switching over to things that make your life a living hell. They're going to start playing Punisher, Namor, Hela, Wanda, just any character, Psylocke, any character that can just make it to where you are not going to want to sit there comfortably in the sky and just be able to just constantly put damage on the back line and chest beam tanks and stuff. So it's kind of the same thing with Angela. And like I said, with Angela, it's just one of those things where whenever I play support, I just have to be mindful. She's not as loud as Iron Man, in my opinion, but she's definitely loud enough to where you can hear her coming. So to me, it's really not that crazy. If I hear that she's coming and I know she's targeting the back line, which is, in my opinion, what she should be doing as a flying tank, she should be making the support's lives miserable. But it's one of those situations where, like, if I know she's coming in to try to, like, spear me off of a cliff or push me into her team or whatever the case is, I just jump out of the way, or I go invis, or I push her away from me. I put the psionic orb down and pull her into it and then start attacking her while I jump back. Like, there's so many different things that you can do to make her life miserable. But like I said, a lot of people, and it's not just with Angela. Like I said, this was the same problem that we had with Black Panther. I never really struggled against a Black Panther, which is one of those things where once I knew they had a Black Panther, like, let's say I just happened to not check the board or something to see who they picked, and the Black Panther snuck up on me once. After that, once I knew that he was there, it was like, okay, I don't have to worry about this because I know how Black Panthers think. I've seen so many of them play. It's not hard to understand. They're going to get behind you. They're probably going to run up a wall or something. They're going to throw a spear at you and then dash into you twice and delete you. If you make them miss those spears or those dashes, they don't really have anything else they can do at that point. And there's a certain amount of time that they have on their cooldowns. So once you're keeping track of that in your head and saying, okay, it's been 8 or 9 seconds, I need to start paying attention for the Black Panther again. Most people do not want to do that. That is just too much work for them. Same thing with Angela. They don't want to have to sit here and pay attention or actually fight back. And, this is something that I've talked about so many different times in regards to supports and how supports have kind of like this victim mindset of, oh, well, no one's peeling for me. Brother, most of the supports in this game do damn near as much damage a lot of times as DPS. You take something, for example, right? So it's like you take Wanda versus Cloak and Dagger, right? If you lose a 1v1 to a Wanda, you're not playing it right, right? If you're not putting a bubble down and blinding the Wanda, you actually do more damage. Once she's blinded, you're doing more damage than she does. It's obvious as day where she's going. Even if she flies away, you can see it. It's a giant red orb that follows her wherever she goes. Invis can win a... I have yet to really lose an actual 1v1 lately, even when it comes to Daredevil. Worst case, even if we're just sitting there and we're trading and going back and forth, I put my shield down, I'm dancing around it and healing while he's trying to like beat me through it or whatever. Worst case scenario, I just go invisible and back off. Now, yeah, he can still see you, but usually he's so weak that distance that I've created, I'm going to be able to take him out. Most of the supports in this game are now, it's becoming a situation where it's like, why would you even want to pick DPS a lot of times? Unless it's very isolated situations and stuff. Like maybe there's a bunch of tanks and you need to get a Squirrel Girl or a Bucky or something to kind of, really just tear them down in health and stuff like that. But for the most part, though, the supports have been buffed so much now. You're the person that knocks. You should be the Walter White. They should fear you. You understand? So sitting back and saying like, oh, no one's peeling for me. No, you need to be peeling for yourself. You need to be sitting here making them like, look at you like, yo, don't play with me. I'm not the one. This is something that I noticed, and I've talked about it numerous times, but I'll bring it up again. Back when I first started playing this game, I looked at it the same exact way. I thought, oh my God, I'm just a support. What could I possibly do, right? Spider-Man's constantly on me. Magic's constantly on me. Iron Fist, et cetera, right? These different dives are on me, right? And one of the biggest problems that I was having was a good Spider-Man. Every time that Spider-Man would come after me, I just was like, oh no, what am I supposed to do? I have no idea because I hadn't played the character at all, so I didn't really understand. It just seems scary. Like 1 second you're there, the next minute you're getting pulled off of a cliff, or he's doing his combo on you, or whatever the case is, right? And you're just out of there. A lot of times it would happen so quick I couldn't even perceive it, right? So then I said, hey, you know what? 4,000 IQ. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually play Spider-Man. And when I started playing Spider-Man, initially it was like, oh, okay, well, I'm able to take out these supports and quick play and stuff like that in very low ranks and stuff. But then once you started getting up to like gold, platinum, you started noticing that the supports, they didn't even seem to miss a step. I would go to attack a cloak and dagger. They'd blind me real quick. You switch over and just delete me. And it was just that simple. I'd fly around a corner. They switch back to dagger, shoot a couple shots at me while I'm in the air that you can't really miss because she pretty much has auto aim at that point. If you're even aiming in the general vicinity of where the character's at, boom. A lot of times I could not delete her faster than if she put her healing bubble down. I couldn't delete her faster than she was taking healing. So then I started realizing like, oh, wait a second. It's actually easier for the supports a lot of times to take me out than it is for me to take them out. Same thing with Mantis. You try to push a good Mantis. You know what they would do? They'd throw their sleep at the ground as soon as you got close to them, buff themselves, headshot you a couple of times. And then I said, oh, man, there's actually numerous ways to take out Spider-Man. And you know what? After that, I never had an issue taking out Spider-Man as a support. And this is how it is with a lot of characters. Some characters I have to play to kind of understand, like, okay, well, this is what you would do. These are the cooldowns for this character, et cetera. Black Panther is one of those exceptions where I never had to play Black Panther because I just had the pleasure of being able to watch so many good ones in our Discord and stuff, and whether it was custom matches or scrims or whatever, to where I was able to think like them. It was very easy to understand, like, well, on this map, this is like going to be the best place for them to attack from. This is how they're going to think. This is how their cooldowns work, et cetera, et cetera. And it's the same thing with like Angela as well. I have not touched Angela in this game. I've not played actually one. If you look at my stats right now, you'd see 0 time for Angela, 0 time for Gambit, 0 time for Black Panther, any of these characters, right? It's just a certain little small amount of characters in the game that I have just never touched. And maybe I will soon, but just not interested in it now. Point that I'm getting to though is that it doesn't matter. As long as you have an idea of how that character works and you've seen what they have to do to be able to be successful in deleting you, make that not something that's easy for them, right? Instead of complaining, because complaining isn't going to change anything. If you're in a match, do you think if you just tell your enemies like, yo, please don't pick these certain people, because I don't know what to do against them. And you got to think, there's only so many bans. Good players don't care about bans. Somebody was asking me the other day, do I think that they should add more bans into the game? And I'll be honest with you. Personally, no. Because the thing that I like about this game is that there's always an answer to something. The answer may not be something that you want to do personally. And I do that a lot. There's certain times where there's certain characters that I should be using that I just don't want to use. And then eventually, once I've lost to that character enough, eventually I say, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and learn the counter to this because it's time, right? I remember when Emma first came out, I was not wanting to play Emma. I was wanting to play like Thor, Penny, stuff like that, like more like, in my opinion, like aggressive, like brawler tanks or like, if I was on defense, I try to set up mines and stuff. But once you've been grabbed by Emma enough and chokeslammed and you can't do the thing you're supposed to do as a tank, which is create pressure and create space and stuff like that. Once you can't do that, what other option do you have than to learn this character that is an actual anti-tank? It's an anti-tank tank. So that's what I had to do. And once I started doing it, man, win rate shot up, rank shot up. And that's just one example of the game in general. Now, if there was characters that came out and there was just no answer to them, then I probably wouldn't be interested in the game at all. But to me, this is like chess. And see, in chess, you have so many pieces, right? even a pawn, if you push it down far enough to the enemy, all the way to the enemy line, you can turn it into whatever you want. So you could end up having, all your pawns end up being queens if you wanted them to, right? What a lot of people don't understand, I notice when they play chess is that a lot of people won't use certain pieces. Like they'll have a piece that's like blocked off somewhere that can't be moved at all or something like that, right? Like one of their castles or something. And like the mindset with chess is that when you can't move a certain piece, it's a dead piece. It's like the equivalent of you not having that piece on the board at all if it can't be moved. So a lot of good chess players will always make it to where they can move any piece on the board. They'll free up everything so that there's always an option to pull out this thing if they need to. And that's kind of the mindset that a lot of people have to have in this game, is that if you don't know certain characters, if there's certain roles you can't play, if you can't adapt to certain situations, that's basically a dead situation for you, or a dead scenario, because you're just going to get deleted, because a better player will learn how to play something else. I've seen it a lot of times in our server, right? 104 used to be like a Jeff. I'd say Jeff one trick, but that's a lie, because one has always known different characters. She's just kind of individual that when she plays a certain character, she plays that character and builds a certain bond with it and learns it inside and out and like embodies that character to where she just becomes goated at it, right? And then when they reworked Jeff, she went over to Magneto. She became probably one of the best Magneto players out there, right? So what people started doing was in customs, they would start asking if we could do bans. We'd do bans, and they'd say, okay, well, we got 1 and 4 on the other team. We're going to ban Magneto. You know what happened? She'd pull out Strange. And they're like, what the hell? We thought you only knew how to play Magneto. So you know what they start doing? Well, now we're going to ban Magneto. Now we're going to ban Strange. You know what happens? She pulls out another character, right? And this will just keep happening. Same thing with me. A lot of times when I'm playing ranked, I'll be on my phone on Twitter or something when we're going through the ban phase. Whatever my team wants to ban, whatever they don't, whatever. Sometimes they ban something I was going to play. You think I care? If I look up and Emma's banned? Think I care if I look up Spider-Man, Iron Man, Wanda, any of the characters I like to play are banned? No, I don't care. You think let's say they ban Cloak and Dagger and Invis. I don't care. I got more healers I can pull out. I don't even care. Does not bother me in the slightest. I'm not going to sit here and become so attached to a character that when it's gone, I'm in a situation where I have no idea what to do, because that's happened before. There's been times where I load into a ranked match and I'm like, oh man, yeah, I could play Thor, I could play Emma, and then they ban Thor and Emma. And I'm like, oh man, well, I'm on tax, so I can't really use Penny. Well, what am I going to do now? Same thing with DPS. Like, oh man, they're probably going to do this. I'm just going to pull out Wanda. Can't pull out Wanda. Now what do you do? I'm on support. Oh, well, yeah, I was going to play Cloak and Dagger. Somebody else picks Cloak and Dagger, or they ban Cloak and Dagger. Well, now what do you do? At one point, that was actually a strategy. People were banning Cloak and Dagger, and they were seeing whole entire teams fall apart because there were supports that only knew Cloak and Dagger, right? There's only 2 bans for each side. And a lot of times, these people out here are double banning. You know what I'm saying? Because people just start banning stuff. Like lately, everybody's been banning Penny. It's like off rip as soon as the match starts. Everybody those ban Penny. It's like, brother, you realize you can just shoot her mines, right? Like they're not even hard to kill. As Invis, I put a psionic orb on the mines and they go away by themselves. You can't get rid of the psionic orb. It's there. And it can delete her mines twice over before it goes away, right? Like once she doesn't have mines, she's pretty much useless at that point. Or her nest, I mean, she still has the option to throw down some mines here and there. But you guys get the point that I'm making. But I'm more ranting now. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. That was just something I kind of wanted to go into and talk about myself personally that I've been seeing. And I felt like it was kind of just a symptom of a bigger thing with the community overall. One, like I said, with Gambit, new characters come out. Everybody has this, oh, I'm about to make a name for myself. I'm gonna be the best at this character. Oh, when this character, oh, this is my favorite. Everybody says that every time a new character. Oh, this is my favorite character of all time. And I get for a lot of people that is true, but for a lot of people, it's just, oh yeah, I saw this character one time in an X-Men cartoon or something or a movie, and they're my favorite. So now I got to play it and insta-lock it every game, and sometimes sell matches or do terrible or maybe be goated or whatever, right? And everything in between. And, with Angela, it's a situation where people just don't want to adapt. People don't like having to do things that are outside of their comfort zone, right? Whether it's having to look behind them or look up in the sky to heal a fellow flyer or to avoid an enemy flyer, whatever the case is. And it's not just with flyers. There's a lot of different situations in the game where I see a lot of people like, oh my God, I can't stand this character. I can't stand when they do this, or I can't stand when they do that. And it just comes down to a lack of people wanting to basically understand their enemy as well as they understand themselves, which is what you should be doing. Just like in the art of war, right? To know thy enemy. You know what I mean? And there's a reason for that. It's because you have to be able to think like your enemy. It's just that simple. If you are not able to do that, you are going to lose and you're going to fail. because if your enemy is good, they're going to be thinking like you. They're going to know what you're going to do before you're going to do it. Probably because they've played that character as well. And even if they haven't played it, they've studied how other people play it. So that's just my thoughts on it. But like I always tell you guys, this is not a monolith. Feel free to tell me in the comments what your thoughts and opinions are. Do you trust Gambit players? Do you like Gambit players? Do you feel like you've seen more triple support since Gambit is out? Have you seen less of it? What are your thoughts on Angela? I know a lot of people do like Angela, but I also know there's a lot of people out there that can't stand playing against Angela players. Anything else that I talked about in the video, feel free to either correct me or add your own input into it, etc. I always love to hear from you guys, get your thoughts and opinions on stuff. Like I tell you all the time, I don't know everything. I just know what I know, and I'm not ever going to lie to you guys. So the thing is that something might work for me, but it may not work for someone else, right? So I'm fully aware of that. So, but like I said, just let me know in the comments what you guys think. I am going to wrap this video up. I do appreciate you all for listening. I'm Father Dark, and I'll catch you on the next one.